All right, Curt, let's get into a story by our very close friend, Lee the Gunwriter Williams. And I'm sure the
Yes.
headline disheartened you. It did me when I saw a special report when Florida police act like they're working in California. You are Florida police. You can't get any more Florida police than you as the sheriff. This is a young kid by the name of Travis Smith who was out with his friend shooting on July 5th at his grandparents' house out in the middle of nowhere. And he winds up getting stopped for a dim tail light. And apparently, somebody that had been in the car had a medical marijuana card, and there was an empty container. There was no marijuana in it, but the cop claimed it gave him. And this was Pinellas Park Police, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to shy away from naming this department. It was Pinellas Park Police that pulled him over. By the time it was all said and done, there were over a dozen cops there, and they got into his trunk and everything else because they said that container gave him probable cause to go through the vehicle. They kept this kid on the side of the road for 3 hours. Now, here comes angry Mark, because I smell a motion to suppress based on this was more than likely an illegal detention while they tried to figure out what to charge him with for 3 hours. Having said that, they find a AR pistol in the back, one of 7 guns. And well, after viewing it, they measured it out and they determined it had a stock on it, not what he thought was a pistol brace. The kid is now facing 10 years on a felony. And the first thing that went through my mind was, no criminal history, not even a traffic ticket. He makes a mistake. It's called officer discretion. Use it. Will you set my mind right here?
Yeah, Mark, when I first saw this and Lee called me, I hear about these kind of cases way too often. And just a couple of points of clarification. I think he's facing 15 years, not
Worse.
10,
Right.
and all of the other firearms were seized. So here's the finer point for your listeners. And I know you said that Travis's parents are probably listening or in the chat, and I
They
just
are.
want to say to them, not all law enforcement acts this way, but I think your listeners know I was a prosecutor for 8 years. I prosecuted a lot of cases. This case is not going anywhere. I want to give his parents some relief there. I know it's disheartening that he had to spend the night in jail and he's facing this time, but for a variety of reasons, this case isn't going anywhere. As I told Lee, when you've got a law-abiding citizen who's out, shooting on their relative property, this to me just seems like overreach. Keeping somebody there for 3 hours. Then there's the issue, is it a brace? Is it a butt stock? And there wasn't anything illegal about any of the other guns. I think all of the marijuana stuff. If somebody's got a medical marijuana card and it's in the card, then that should suffice. But the point I want to make to Travis's parents, to your listeners, and I know you already know this because you used to live in Florida, Mark. There's a difference between police and the sheriff's office, right? And
Huge
what is that
difference.
difference? Well, chiefs of police, report to the city manager. The city manager reports to the mayor. The mayor has, a city council. In Florida, all 67 sheriffs now have, all 57 counties, I should say, have sheriff for this very reason. We are elected constitutional officers and we can be held accountable at the ballot box. You can't really do anything to a police department or a chief of police. You might be able to sue, but under sovereign immunity, that's an uphill battle. So this is where I think us 67 sheriffs, 65 guys and 2 ladies that we've got should be out there, carrying the water for, folks that are out there not doing anything wrong, standing up for them. And I would be ashamed if this occurred in my county. And I've told your listeners before, when you educate your workforce, when you train your workforce, when you give your workforce specific training on firearms, on Second Amendment issues, I guarantee you, Mark, if you picked any one of my deputies off the road or you saw him out for lunch, you said, come here, what's your sheriff say about the Second Amendment? They would have something to say,
Right.
because I've communicated that to my people. And what happened here really is just travesty. There's not anybody committing a crime, and they went out of their way, 3 hours out of their way, to find something. I'm not the least bit happy about it.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know you're listening to the program today, and I hope you take the sheriff's words to heart, because Sheriff Curt's words do carry great weight in the state of Florida. And I know other people are listening to this conversation. So take that to heart. I hope you feel a little bit better about that, because we've got your back here. We're going to continue to follow this case, and we're going to report to our listeners that this is all going to go away. I have that gut feeling too, Sheriff. I really, truly do. I would not be shocked if I saw Utmeyer or even the governor get involved in something like this, because it has gotten a lot of attention, and we bring a lot of attention to it, as well as your words, which carry great weight in the state of Florida. And I hope that, happens.
Mark, Travis is about the age of my son, and I wouldn't want him to be in this situation.
No, but what does that say? And I'm not here, I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement. That's why this is so disheartening to me. Is there nothing better to do in Pinellas Park? No, guys, I lived in Florida for a long time. I know about Pinellas Park. There's real crime in Pinellas Park, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? That 13 cops seems like a real overreach to me. Wouldn't you expect your officers on the side of the road in a situation like that to call you and ask you for some sound advice? I don't know if they called the chief or not. I don't know. But you're right. Those are political appointees and political positions. Maybe they didn't because they thought they were doing the bidding of the politician. I don't know.
Well, the policy of the Sarasota Sheriff's Office is set by the Sarasota Sheriff. I can assure you that the policy of some of these smaller municipal police departments are not set by the municipal police. They're set by, in most cases, some left-leaning liberal city councils, and that's where they get in trouble. And that's the single most biggest difference between sheriff and police departments is that there's not the accountability that you have with elected officials.
Well, Sheriff, a lot of people don't. I think a lot of listeners of Armed American Radio are educated about this, but most Americans do not know that the sheriff is the oldest constitutionally elected office in the country. Most people are unaware of that.
The first few sheriffs in Florida were appointed by Andrew Jackson when he was the territorial governor. It goes all the way back to the 1800s. So, and even beyond that in some other jurisdictions. So there's a reason for that. There's a reason why we're elected, and the reason why we raise our right hand, swear to uphold that Constitution. For the most part, we do a pretty damn good job of it.
Yeah, you do. I know that. And we're coming to the end of the segments, Sheriff. I really appreciate you being here and accommodating our schedule. We have a lot of people that wanted to get in because such huge news out of the Third Circuit. AM 930 listeners in Sarasota, Florida, you got a good one there, ladies and gentlemen. Keep electing him to office and do yourself a solid. Sheriff Curt Hoffman, Sarasota County, Florida. Sheriff, we thank you, brother, for being here. We love you. And just in case nobody's told you that today, Curt, I love you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So you can take that one to the bank. Sheriff Curt Hoffman, Sarasota County. You bet.